Okay, welcome back to class, guys. Today is week 2, day 3. Today we're going to be working with loops and arrays. Does anyone here know what an array is? Can someone help me out? It's a list. That's the simplest way of thinking of an array, and that's correct. Obviously, you guys will see other analogies for arrays. I like to think of arrays as things that look very similar. So, for example, on YouTube, we go to YouTube, we see a list of videos. Each one of these lists has some same characteristics. What kind of characteristics do they have that we can see? We have a title, a thumbnail, a length. Each one of them has a length. Each one of them has an uploader, the number of views, as well as how long ago it was viewed. Every single website you guys run across is going to have this behavior. Okay? Some type of list somewhere. It could be YouTube. It could be Google with the results. Okay? It could be Wikipedia with the different news articles. Are these news articles? I guess you could just call these articles. Yeah. They may be styled differently, right? They may be styled differently. For example, the colors here. This is a list of different types of articles, maybe in sections, but they serve the same purpose. You know, they're providing information, content to the user for consumption. That is what we're going to use arrays for. It's going to be a list of data that's very similar. Loops is how we're going to iterate over that data. This is keyword right here, iterate. Okay? We need to iterate over every single item in an array. Item, array. In a few minutes, obviously, I'm going to demo, okay? So let's just take a high-level overview, and we'll see some examples in a second. The objective of today's class is to understand the for loop. Just understand loop is just something that keeps doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. That's the objective of a loop. We need to learn how to access elements in an array. People call these elements, items, indexes. They all mean the same thing. It just means that one spot in the array. Okay? And lastly, we need to learn how to add and remove elements from an array. Because a list that cannot change is almost useless. Obviously, there are going to be use cases for certain things that do not change. For example, if we're playing paper, rock, scissor, there can only ever be 3 items. Right? What else can you guess? That's the rules of the game. It's just a little bit of logic. Okay, so we're going to talk about some loops. A loop is a programming function that iterates a statement or condition based on specified boundaries. Run the same code over and over. That's all a loop is. Run the same code over and over. And there are going to be rules that allow us to exit loops. Under certain conditions, we want the loop to stop working. Okay, we want to say, hey, I'm done here. Each time we loop over something, we iterate it, we will have a different input value. And the input value will result in a different outcome. There are many different kinds of loops. The for in, the while, the do while. The truth is you can get all of them to work pretty much the same way, but they're obviously a little bit different, right? Otherwise we wouldn't do it. Sometimes it's simply like people like certain code, right? I'm going to show you a couple of examples of this, of these loops right here. But then at the end of class, by the end of today, I'm going to show you 3 specific loops that you should be using that aren't listed here. And these are the ones I want you to constantly use. I don't want you to use these ones, to be honest with you. As a matter of fact, I would say this one right here, this one's kind of the most difficult one to think about. And I've never read production code that uses it. Yeah. Okay, so the for loop. If there's a statement, there's an expression which evaluates the true or false, and lastly, there's something called an iterator. It's what kicks up the number. It says, hey, I want to change this value. Within this statement, we have its body. from the beginning to closing curly brace, right? And then the beginning and closing curly brace is, just defines when it starts, when this ends. This is just one block of code. Okay, we're gonna talk about arrays again. An array is a special type of variable which can hold more than one value at a time. The values are always going to be very similar though, okay? I'm telling you that right now. Arrays will never ever have different types of values inside of it. So, I'll show you an example. So basically, you can think of an array as holding many different values under a single unified name, right? So what does that mean? I know that's confusing as shit, right? So for example, we're in Ho Chi Minh City, right? If we had a variable, we could call it city. But what if we wanted to have a variable that could hold Ho Chi Minh City, Paris, New York, Washington, a bunch of cities? A reasonable variable name for that would be cities. And inside each one of those items inside this array, we would find an individual city. So the pattern you're going to see, yes?
So for example, if we would have a variable for investment banks around the world, it would be investment banks.
Yeah, you can call it whatever you want.
Within that, it could be JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, HSBC, and all that.
Yes. Okay. Obviously, there's a cars example here. I kind of don't like these cars, so I didn't say it. So we're going to use arrays in combinations. What we've learned so far. That's obvious, right? We spend the last week and a half learning useless stuff. That's all going to apply very soon. So there are just many different ways of working with arrays, guys. Okay, I want you guys to look up the documentation on W3 Schools throughout this day and experiment and play around with it, okay? Or find a Udemy section or watch it's 10-minute introduction, 10-minute intro to JS arrays, okay? There are a lot of people that do a better, I want to make videos like this in the very near future. If ever I get fired from Coder School, I'm just going to put together a couple videos like this and just prove to everyone that I'm qualified to get, for them to pay me a lot of money. So what I'm trying to say is these people are good, and I encourage you guys to look at these. Yesterday, Sean said that he was taking Udemy courses, and I can say that Coder School taught me a lot, but I did take Udemy courses myself to get where I'm at. So it took a lot of effort on my part other than Coder School. Okay, so there's a special function on an array data type called splice. You guys are gonna need to play with this a couple times before you guys learn what this does.
What does splice mean?
It means to remove a certain part of the array. To remove right here, the starting position. I'm gonna start at a certain position, and I'm gonna delete however many positions after that.
Why would you want to delete an array?
Because sometimes we're going to need to remove elements from an array depending on the use case. I know, I'm gonna show you in a second, okay? Okay, so yeah. How many elements you want to do? Yeah, we're gonna remove one element. We're gonna take one city out of it.
It's like when you search for something on a fashion website and you wanna, there are like categories, so you're like, okay, I don't wanna look at shoes today. And then shoes would be an array, right? Element in the array, and then you just click that filter out shoes.
Okay, I'm gonna use that as an example. Remind me in a second when I start demoing, okay? To show me I'll show you exactly. That's a great example. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so the for in another example. I don't want you guys to use this. I really don't want you guys to think about this. Someone's gonna complain at me at Coder School for telling you guys that, but I'm telling you that it's too difficult to think about. I want you guys to use map, filter, and reduce. I'm gonna show you in just a second. Okay, lastly, we're gonna talk about objects, okay? Did anyone look into objects over this weekend or these last 2 days?
I was reading about Javascript that says everything is an object.
Everything is gonna be an object. Everything can be an object. You're an object, I'm an object, and as a matter of fact, we're about to prove we're all objects, okay? We're about to prove this.
JavaScript works by building object trees or something like that?
Yeah. Okay, so I want each one of you guys to copy this right here and fill out your own data right now, okay? Okay, no, just copy it. Copy this in Discord and put in the appropriate data.
In Discord.
No, like copy this. Put in your name, your last name, put in whatever age you want, your favorite color, your favorite 3 colors, your 3 favorite singers, your nationality, your gender, your zodiac, your job title, your company.
But where should we put this? In our VS Code?
So if you want to use, yes, I suggest you use VS Code. You use VS Code, copy it, paste it. Paste it inside of VS Code. And let me know when you're done. Say again?
Do you like Justin Bieber?
I actually do think he's a great singer. He's a great entertainer. This is an object, guys. You can determine that it's an object by the curly braces. Okay? We took an object, we assigned it to a variable called me. On the left, we have what are called keys. On the right, we have values. Keys and values. So for example, me as an object, my key first name is Loy. My key last name is Tran. So paste it in the chat. Paste it in the chat. Guys, all fill stuff and paste it in chat, please.
Okay.
Paste it in the chat.
Yeah, so I can have it. Yeah. You don't like music, Gwen? The hell? I know. These aren't actually my favorite singers. These are just like I'm kind of making it up, Some famous people that you guys can, would recognize. Does everyone here know who Britney Spears is? Yeah. I'm just concerned, some people here, not Americans,
She's like super international.
I know. Missing 6 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who am I missing? I'm missing 3 people here. Parsa, where you at, man? All right, we got one more, guys. Okay, so for those of you who are done, I want you guys to know that this is a structure that we're all going to become very, very, very familiar with. This is an array. Oh, my bad, I keep doing that. Okay, this is a array. What's the name of the array? People. Why do we call it people? Exactly. Your array should always be the plural version of the single object that is inside of it. This is going to help you understand your code and help your teammates understand your code. And it's going to help you understand other people's code.
Did you say that only has a single one word?
So for example, if I needed an array of cars, right? Let's just say, would I call this hello equals BMW, Mercedes, Toyota.
I guess it should be descriptive, but like, is it okay to be more than one word? Do you use camel case again?
Yes, you can use camel case. When we're in JavaScript, the convention is if something is more than one word, you use camel case. Okay, this is also in your function names, your key names. These are keys right here. Okay, your key names, your variable names, your functions names, etc. Okay, so I think we have enough people. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that seems right. Okay, so let's just go ahead and mess around a little bit inside of our console. So let's actually start real small, okay? I'm gonna start real small, my bad. I'm getting ahead of our...
You can't put Toyota next to a Mercedes or a BMW though.
Okay,
These are premium
Lexus?
cars.
Lexus?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy this, okay? Should I leave this as hello, guys? Should this be hello right here? We'll call it cars, okay? Cars is a more appropriate name, okay?
Oh, can you do like premium cars?
I'm gonna use cars. I want a short variable name. I'm gonna demonstrate, okay? Here, fine. Let's just do something. Ford, okay? What's another cheap car?
Honda.
Hyundai? Honda. Toyota, okay? I'm gonna copy this over the console to prove to you guys I now have a variable called cars, right? If I hit enter, you guys can see that your JavaScript gives us these braces right here, or these square brackets. This is telling us that this is a array. We can easily define a new array. Why is this? We can easily define a new array. Const people, Loy, my bad. Loy, my, John, etc. Okay? So what if I wanted to add a new person to my array? I could do array.push. Boom. What does this look like to you guys?
Like the name of the array,
We-
stuff, and then the action.
We name the array, whatever array that we're working with, that we want to mutate. What we're looking for here is mutate. We want to change it. We call that array. We say, hey, this array of people, I want to push something onto it. But what data type is push right here?
The new person.
It's a function. It is a function. We can determine that by these parentheses. It's saying, hey, call something. And this function takes an argument. It takes an argument of whatever it is we want to stick inside this array. So I'm going to stick fung in here.
Functions always have parentheses.
Yes, when we're calling them.
Variables always have curly.
Variables don't always have curly braces, no. They often do if they're objects, though. I'll show you objects here in just a second, okay?
Objects always have the curly.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to take my people array. I'm going to push fung onto this array. I'm going to add her to the array. So look at what people was just a second ago, okay? Let's copy this real quick. People.length. How many people are in this array? So if I do people.push fung, it's going to return 4. It's going to tell me how many people are inside this array now. How many items I have in it. And we can confirm that we did in fact add fung to this array. Right? A very simple example right here. Arrays also have the same types of type of things that like strings do, for example. So we can see how many different items are in this array. 4. So for a string, hello, we can also run .length and determine how many characters are in the string, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A string has 5 characters, or this string has 5 characters, right? Hello. How many characters is that?
5.
Okay. How many characters is just X?
1.
How many characters is high?
2, but if you would make a space.
That would also count.
Okay.
This is called a white space. Yeah. So spaces are also counted. There are a bunch of the specific use cases. So anyway, how is this useful for us? Okay. And how is this useful for us? Well, the problem is that oftentimes you're going to have a lot of something, but the fact of the matter is you don't know how many you have, right? We need to know how to start with something and then go to the very end and not know how many there are. Okay? So I'm going to look at, before I do that, I'm going to show you some objects, okay? So let's just take a person. Who wants to be our favorite student in class today? I'm going to go with Parsa, because I never mess with him. So imagine we had an object. Let's just do it from scratch, okay? So let's say that we have a new object. Person, Parsa. This object represents Parsa, okay? He is of data type object. Okay, I'm going to prove that to you guys. Type of Parsa. What's that say right there? So Parsa is an object. I guarantee you. The special thing about objects are they collect data together. They say, hey, even though it's just a way of collecting data. So what's some things about Parsa that we know? Okay. Well, what's the same thing about what's some information about all people? People have ages, right? I can do Parsa that age is 18. Now if I look at Parsa, I can see that he has an age attribute. Okay, what are other things that people have? People have genders. So now we look at Parsa and we can see that he has 2 keys. This object has 2 keys that's describing Parsa. Okay, how many other keys could we have? An infinite number of keys. Okay, but the reality is that we're not going to have an infinite amount. You're going to have some, kind of like this. It's going to look something like this. You're always going to be dealing with objects very soon. These are probably one of the most fundamental things other than everything else I told you that was fundamental about programming. Okay? So, let's do a couple more. Parsa dot, nationality is UK. Right? So now Parsa has exactly 3 keys. So keys are useless without their values. I need the value of the key. I know every single person in the world has an age. Okay? I need to know your specific age, Parsa. So how can we extract this age right here from this object? Remember, Parsa is an object. I can do type of Parsa. And then the browser confirms that this is of type object. So I can do, yes?
Question, if we would enter the
Exactly, there would be. Yes. You would never hard code an age in like that. Exactly what you just said. It'd be a date. It'd be a date, and then you'd say, okay, well, how long ago was that day from today? Now I know exactly how old he is. But this is a contrived example. I'm trying to keep it simplified right now, okay? So look, the most important thing about objects is that we need the values of the keys. Okay, guys? I know that parser has an age. That is obvious. There's not a single person in the world that does not have an age. I need the value. So in order to get the value of age off the object parser, I'm going to do parser dot age. So you guys can see that I've successfully extracted the number 18 off of our parser object. What's important to note here is that we memorized our keys. Actually, no, we didn't. We just made up the keys, okay? We just sitting here, we just decided parser had an age, okay? But what we did do was when we looked at the object, we could see what was on this object, okay? We could see the keys. And I want you guys to know that that's what you guys need to be doing. You guys need to be looking at the keys because you're not going to know all the keys on your objects. Not the ones that you write for yourself, not the ones you get back from an API. So what am I trying to say here? What the fuck what is he saying? Okay, I'm gonna copy all this over. What do I have here, guys? What am I looking at here? A list of people, an array of people. What is each person? Tell me in programming, what is each person? Yes, every single person inside this array is an object. Tell me something about that object.
Different data of different objects?
Yes, there's data. Each one of these keys represents some data that is concise, that describes the object. Okay? Obviously, we're just looking at people. Everything can get more I'm just gonna show you one more example. Let's just say school. Okay? We could have address is 12 thumb down. You have owner is Charles Lee. You have a favorite color is red. Right now we're gonna stick with people that the most easy to associate with in your life, in your mind's eye. So I'm gonna copy this over here. Now this is where the fun happens. So, oop.
Yeah, but
Okay, I already did it. Oh yeah, so I already have people. People.
I think there's some syntax on the company.
What company thing? What are you talking about?
the school.
Okay, so we have people. If I do people.length, how many am I gonna see? There's 9 people here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. All right. So we got some people. We somehow convinced our user to tell us a whole bunch of information about them. Okay. So now what if the question became? Let's look at Tiki as an example. I'm sorry. I'm going to eBay. I changed my mind. Tiki. I want to show Tiki for our Vietnamese friends, but they need to step their game up. So we can see that we have a list of categories here, right? We click electronics. We can see that we have a smaller list, right? And so basically all of these are items for sale, right? These are all items for sale, and then we broke them down into smaller subdivisions, right? Smaller subdivisions of different items. So imagine we had a collection of people. What if I wanted all the people whose company was Coder School? What if I wanted to know whose company was Coder School? How could we do that? Well, we need to start from the beginning and then map through to the end and simply count how many people where the company equals Coder School. But before we do that, let's just figure out what the hell a map is, okay? So what it is you call your variable name and then you run a function. This function is called map, okay? So what can we do with functions? What did we learn yesterday, guys?
Call.
What we call them and what do we give to functions? Parameters or arguments. We need to give it some data. And in the case of the map function, it takes a special type of argument. Its argument is a function. Right here. And specifically, this is called an anonymous function. You guys are going to learn about anonymous functions more detailed very soon, But just know that this is the syntax right here. Okay? Can you guys tell me right now? Someone tell me what we're looking at that we have highlighted. We're calling dot map, right? And then we're doing parentheses, an equal signs, less than, and then some curly braces. So for now, before we do anything fancy, let's just look at what happens. The first argument to this inner function is the person. Now we just want to console.log person.name, first name. So let's think about what just happened right here. Very slowly, okay? Let's think about this very slowly. We are mapping over. This is such an important word. I'm going to repeat this so many times, guys. I'm sorry. Okay? Map. Map means start from the beginning, go to the end. Okay? Start from the beginning, go to the end. And what's it going to do at the beginning? It's going to take each individual item. Each one of these things right here. What's inside of people, guys? Yes, but what data type is it? I want you guys to talk to me in data type and programming terms. These are all objects. And each one of these, we looked at the object's keys, okay? So for person right here, the very first time this ran, person was this object right here. From lines 2 to 14. The second time that this function ran, the function being inside of the parentheses, the object person, the variable person held Gwen. Okay? And so on and so forth.
So it's automatically know between person and people? Because we had the constant as people and now we use person.
So the array, remember what I said a second ago? An array holds many similar types of objects, right? So let me ask you this. If I had const animals and I put, monkey, tiger, would this make sense?
Yeah.
This would make perfect sense, right? But what if I stuck in, I don't know, orange? Orange.
Oh.
Okay? My fits in with animals, but orange doesn't. I'm teaching you, okay? I'm teaching you. Have a good time. Okay, so just think about this, okay? Just think about this, okay? The array animals is composed of what? Individual animals, right? This is the plural right here. The name of the array is plural. What's inside of the array is the individual one. So we'll say, I don't know, lion, right? So the array, so it's just, the name is what we want to do, is like the plural version of what's inside of it, okay? Just think of it that way. It has to be the plural version of what's inside of it, okay? So let's just start small. Maybe I got a little bit ahead of ourselves, okay? So animals, what if I wanted to print every single one of these? Yes, that's exactly, thank you. Man, fuck, I kind of got ahead of ourselves, okay? My bad, guys. There's one other thing you actually need to know how to do, okay? If you want to grab an individual item out of this, right, we can use what's called its index. It's space in this array. What place is this at in the line? If this was a line, monkey, tiger, unicorn, lion, what place would this be? 0. It's 0 index, okay? It's 0 index. So the first place is 0. What's going to be in the second place? 1 is going to be the second place. And what's inside of that is animals. Okay? My bad. I should have done this first. Let's do this one more time. Animals. Okay. How many animals do we have?
4 animal names.
Okay. What is the last animal? Can someone tell me the index of the last animal?
3.
Animals. 3. Correct. Is there another way to get the index?
Why is that a lion?
Because this is 0 right here.
Ah.
Animals, 0. Animals, 1. Animals, 2. Animals, 3. Right? Why do I not have 3? Oh, I just spelled it wrong. Okay, so just know that inside of an array, the first thing that's inside of it, the first item, the first element is 0, and then you go up from there for each element. Okay? Okay, so strings are not that interesting, okay? That's why I kind of jumped into objects, right? Because objects are going to allow us to combine different types of behavior, okay? And subtypes of fun and unique and engaging behavior. And we're going to see that in just a moment, okay? So right now, how could we console log, how could we look at each individual item in the element? Or how could we look at each individual item in the array? Well, we just did it. We specified the specific index. But the problem here is, how do we know how many animals are in the array? No. But I'm trying to say the reality is we don't know how many animals there are. Does anyone here know how many animals there are in the world?
No.
I have no idea how many there are. And that's the fact of many different things in life. A program is almost never going to know how many of something you're going to get. Obviously not never, but I'm trying to say...
Number it is. Like, you know which number I call it in the first place.
Say again?
If it was a really long list, you probably wouldn't know which number in the list it was.
Exactly. So that's another problem. Like, this is 4 items. We've already forgotten, you know? Like, someone's already fucked it up. And that's not right or wrong. You know, I'm just saying, like, it's just a reality. Like, we're going to fuck this up. The vast majority of times, an array is always going to have the same types of data, right? And you're always going to want to deal with every single item in the array, right? So, for this contrived example, I just showed you that sometimes we do, in fact, need to get individual items out of an array. But the reality is that you'll never ever do something for certain items in the array and not the other ones, okay? So how could we more efficiently print every single item in this array? We could do animals.map, and then we could do that special function that we had defined, okay? And I'm going to prove to you this is a function real quick, okay? I know that the syntax is quite confusing, so let's just define a function. We're going to call this print animal name, and it's going to take an animal, it's going to take a name, okay? And it's just going to console.log hot animal name, and then the name.
So console.log is to show it visually what we have, right?
Yes, it's to prove that it's to help us understand what we have. Like, we don't know what we have unless we see it on the screen. We don't know what's inside. We don't know what the lights inside the computer mean. You know, like I don't know what it means. I need to be able to read it before I can know what is this name right here. Okay? So can you guys all agree this is a function? Watch this. I'm gonna paste this here, right? If I do print animal name, and I pass it tiger, it prints the animal's name. Right? This is a function. So can I assign this function to a variable? Yes, I can. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Print name. I can pass it the same thing. The exact same thing happened, right? We defined a function 2 different ways. One of them was just the keyword print, function name, parentheses, and the argument we passed to it with its body. We ran a console log. In the other case, we assigned this function to a variable called print name. Okay, so now we're going to do the most important thing. Do I have animals still? Okay, I'm going to pass a function to our map function call. Okay, in JavaScript, you guys are going to hear this keyword a lot. First class citizens. Functions are first class citizens. That means we can pass functions as arguments to other functions, right? Okay, I'm going to show you this example right now. Don't worry, guys. I have animals. I want to print each one of these animals' names. What can I do? I can do this one right here. I can do it one at a time, but this is horribly inefficient. I will never ever know how many animals are in there. Okay? So instead, we're gonna do animals.map, and we're going to pass this function called print name. Exactly. Yes. And when this
How is it small? Oh, okay, got it. It's the thing over there. Yeah.
yes. So now we're gonna pass it that. We're gonna hit enter. And what happened? What does print name do here?
It listed all the animals we have in our database.
It did not list all the animals we have in our database.
Yeah.
The print name function The print name function took one argument, right here, right here. It takes one argument, name, and it console logs out the name, right? Yet, we had this print out 4 times. Why is that? Because our map function will call the function that was passed to it one time for each and every element. So the first time that the print function, this print animal name function ran inside this map, this loop, what was the animal that we had? Right? The second time it had
when we do a function, it's like the first part is the name that we're pulling from, and then this after the full stop is the action. So console log is a function too.
yes, console log is in fact a function. Watch this. Console.log. Console.log. What does that look like to you? That is a function. Console.log is in fact a function. It even says it right there. You hover your mouse over it. It's a function. Okay? Anytime you guys see these bad boys right here, you're calling a function. Okay? There's a whole bunch of free functions we get because there are many other smart people in the world that just wrote them for you. Like, man, this guy needs to, he's going to need to look at his variables. How is he or she, my bad, women, ladies, my bad. How is he or she going to understand what is inside of there without being able to see on the screen? So someone invented for us console.log. And when you guys do console.log, you're calling a function. And you're passing this function in an argument. So first argument, first, second, third. I run it. Console.log, the function, takes these arguments and it prints it to the screen. It doesn't do anything else, right? It just lets us see what's inside of it. That's the most important thing. Okay, any more questions? Any other questions? Does that clear you up? Yeah? Okay, so just know, guys, that the objective of map, right? The objective of animals.map here is we want to run some code on each element. That's what the objective here is. I have an element. What is our element here, guys? It's an animal. Can you tell me what data type it is? It's a string. Right now, it's a very contrived example. It's not useful right now, okay? It's just an animal. It's just a string. But in just a second, I'm going to show you guys how this can be useful, okay? Don't worry about that, everything right now. So what's important right here is .map can only be called on an array or an object. What do I mean? What if I did hello.map? Our JavaScript would complain and say you can't run .map on a string. This is a special type of function that only works on arrays and objects. Okay? So remember, animals.map is a function. You can tell by the parentheses. The argument that we give to this function is a function. Okay? We got to give this function another function as its argument. Okay? So remember, what was the one that we defined just a second ago? Look, it even says so right here. You see that? Like, the Chrome developer tools is asking me. Specifically, guys, you guys are going to learn very quickly there are many different types of functions, right? This is specifically called a callback function, right? It's saying, hey, whenever you're prepared, call my function. This is the function I want you to call. Call this function I give you, okay? That being said, okay? So there are multiple different ways we're going to write this. I think this week I'm going to show you 10 different ways to write the same function. That's going to be one of these the demos that I give you guys. But right now, let's start small, okay? I just want you guys to know that right now, when we pass this, the argument that is passed to map right here has to be a function. The first one has to be a function. And I'm going to just write it in here, okay? Function, right here. Name. Right? Can I do that? Do you see how this is a function, guys? We use the keyword function right here. We give it its argument, the name, and then we give it a body, right? So now what can we do? Just add a console log, we run it. I just define a function right here.
Lord, for people who have issues or like short attention span, there's so many like parentheses and curly braces. Like, is there like a way to double check once you've written a function to not mess up the code or anything? Because here it's like.
If you're in Visual Studio Code, it'll give you the red line, right?
Yes, guys, that's why I want you to write in Visual Studio Code. We could potentially write code on a piece of paper, right? But that's not the best situation. We're not gonna have syntax highlighting. You know, we're gonna have to erase like crazy. It's much easier to press the delete key. We gotta use our keys. We gotta use our tools, guys. Your machine is your tool, okay? If you guys were knights, your computer would be your sword. I know it sounds crazy. If you're a soldier, your computer would be your gun. You guys need to know how to use it well, okay? So don't write code here. I almost never want to see you guys write code here. Obviously, you're allowed to, right? If you're doing what I'm doing, you're thinking, you're like, I wonder what's inside of here. I want to test, blah, blah. Write code in your Chrome browser. But typically, I want you to write code in VS Code. Okay, so do we have any questions so far, guys? What's the first argument that we give the map? What data type is it? It's a function. We always give map a function. This function is going to be passed an argument. What is the argument? No, it's not name. It just happens to be named in this case, okay? But you can think of this argument right here as being whatever is sitting inside of the array. Okay, whatever it is sitting inside that array, right? So like, I know that's confusing. I call it name. I'm telling you it's not a name. But just know that only right now is it a name. In a second, what am I going to call it?
Object?
In a second, I'm going to call it person. Because in this array, I have a bunch of people, right? These are people inside of here. Each person, each people is a person. That doesn't make sense. My English isn't great, man. I've been in Vietnam too long. Inside of our people array, we have a bunch of people, or a bunch of persons. Okay, a bunch of persons. Okay, right now, right here, this right here, right? I'm calling it name because what is inside of here? It's actually a name. It is in fact a name. I'm both a guy and a dude. I'm both Vietnamese and American. I'm both an adult and a kid sometimes. You know what I mean? That's how it is. So just know that our variables, depending on who you ask, there will be different things. If I ask this array right here, what this is, what monkey is right here, it's going to say this is an item in my array. It's just one item. But if I ask this function what this name is, it's going to say, it's a string. It's the argument passed in from this array. Okay, so now, I'm sorry, it's been very abstract. Okay, these use cases are not really applicable. They're hard to conceptually understand. So now we're just going to do this. We're going to copy our people. Okay, we're going to see people.link. Okay, so I confirm to you that we have 9 people in this class, right? What if we wanted to see all the first names of all these people? We could map over our people. So we can do people.map, and then we could call it, and then we could pass it its function argument. This is called an anonymous function. Okay, this right here, guys. You guys got to get used to knowing what this is, or you guys got to memorize this. This is called an anonymous function. It's declared by the parentheses, the fat arrow, and the body. Okay, this is the body of it right here. Whoop. An anonymous function. Okay, so remember, what is this? What's going to be each one of these elements? It's going to be a person. Okay, so tell me about these persons.
Are you just naming that kind of arbitrarily? Like, does it matter if you say a different word? If you said like chairs,
I could call it chairs if I wanted.
it doesn't matter. So is that just for the developers to look at?
Yes, for us, because like you guys, we understand, like we've written very simple code, right? Like later on when we have hundreds of files, thousands of lines of code, we're gonna start seeing like a bunch of code, and we gotta be able to quickly read it and understand what's going on. Okay, so yes.
Why is it called a anonymous function?
Why is it called an anonymous function?
I mean, like, what's the point of an anonymous function?
There's a lot of other specific use cases that right now I don't want to get into, but we'll get into it by the end of class.
But it's like widely used.
Yes, it's widely used. Yes. You're gonna see a lot of these, okay? A lot of these right here.
It's just a function, right? And we will not use it again, so we will do that.
It's a function that does not have a name, and you're right. We won't use it somewhere else. We only use it for this one situation. So we don't want to pollute our namespace. We don't want to have too many functions declared, so that like, oh shit, they start conflicting. Like, oh, you already have a function declared there by the same name. Okay, when you guys start writing a lot of code, you guys are gonna see people everywhere, person everywhere, right? I want the person's name. I want the person's age. I want the person's height, etc. Okay, there's a bunch of stuff here. So let me just, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's just look at this. Okay, let's just apply a couple of these concepts that we've been playing around with and we've been, doing or whatever. We called it chairs. Okay, but what is actually inside of here?
People.
Yeah, well, it's really an object, but we gotta understand from the object's perspective, what is it, right? So a more appropriate name would be person. But right now, just to entertain,
Items to.
sometimes people call it item. Actually, it's funny you say that because a lot of people will call it items. Yeah.
Yeah, generic, it doesn't actually.
Yeah, exactly. So right now we're gonna call it chairs, and we're just going to console.log chairs.firstname. And you'll see that what happened right here, guys. We looked at our people array. We mapped over it. We said, hey, from the very first element, right here on the left, from the very first element to the very last element, I want you to run some code. And when you run this code, which is a function, you're going to be passed an argument. This is an argument, guys, right here.
So is it still an anonymous function?
Yes.
Even with the word in the parentheses?
So this is the argument right here. That's actually not a name right there. So if there was a name on the left right here, if there was a name on the left, then that wouldn't be an anonymous function. But what do we do with each one of these chairs? We ask the chair what its first name was. So obviously you guys can see why chairs is not a good name. Okay? So let's do this again, except the right way. We'll do people.map. And what does each element inside this array represent? A person. So we're going to say anonymous function. Right here, we're just going to set up our anonymous function. And then we're going to say, oh, we're going to look back at our array and be like, what is inside this people array? Ah, it's a person. So I'm going to name it person. And we're going to do exactly what we just did, guys. We're going to console.log person name person dot first name. Okay? If I hit enter right now, I expect this to work. And it does in fact work. Okay? So that's not actually particularly useful. I already know everyone's names. Now what if the question became, I want to know what everyone's zodiac sign is. Okay? So what could we do then? Well, we could, you guys have often heard me talk about how like all our applications are going to deal with data, and that's the fact. We're going to be dealing with data. We're in information technology, okay? Everything has to do with data. So the vast majority of times when we have arrays, right, we don't want all of it. We don't want every single thing about the object. We want one little itty bitty piece, okay? So let's just think for a second. What if I wanted to figure out what everyone's zodiac sign was?
Do you map it again?
I'm going to map it again. And am I going to be looking at the person.firstname key?
No, it's going to be zodiac.
Okay, exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you, Mar. So, we're going to do this again.
I'm still lost when it comes to the anonymous function, though.
It's okay. You're going to have to practice. No one knows how to do it the first time. You're going to have to practice. You're going to see some reading material. Take it easy. You only heard about it like 15 minutes ago. I don't expect you to know what it means right now, okay? I like, trust me. I'm with you guys. It took me forever. It's just a function. Just think of an anonymous function as a function.
What's that function's purpose out of so many other functions in JavaScript?
Because it's gonna help you write code cleaner. Like right now you haven't written enough code to see how like having 1,000 functions is gonna make your life more difficult. But like as you start writing functions, you'll start, as you start writing more code, you'll see that like, oh shit, like this project, man, fuck, all I wanted to do was write this. I ended up writing 50 different functions, and like, yes, I told you guys, I want you guys to all write a bunch of little itty bitty functions, right? I mean that. But you can also have too many itty bitty functions. That's also possible. Okay, so what did we say that we're gonna do a second ago?
People, map, and then zodiac.
We're gonna figure out what everyone's zodiac is, okay? So we're gonna do people, dot map person, and we're gonna throw in our default code. And we'll do console.log person zodiac.
Hold up, why did you type Zodiac up there instead of person?
Because we're not dealing, because we have a person object. This is a person. No, what is person right here? It's always going to be an element. It's going to be the entire element. Okay? And we only, right now we're only specific, but for the purpose of this exercise, this one function, what do we want? So what do we got to call now? How can we look at an object specific key?
Person dot zodiac.
Yes. Like I said, the vast majority of times, you guys only want one specific thing off this key. Okay? You want one specific thing. You need this one specific thing. Okay?
So we know the zodiac sign, but we don't know which person. So can we do like comma person dot first name and comma person dot zodiac?
Of course. We're going to do a lot of that. We're going to do a lot more. We're going to look at multiple keys. So let's do this. There's nothing to stop us from doing person. Okay, let's just do person dot first name is a person dot zodiac. Will this work? Okay, and this pattern is going to be how we're going.
That anonymous function, are there a bunch of different examples of anonymous functions with different signs in between? Or is that the main one with the equal, less than?
No, it's always this fat arrow. If you see a fat arrow, it's an anonymous function. This is a very special syntax right here. Okay. The thing about anonymous functions, also, you guys are going to see this, and you guys are going to see me write code like this, is if your anonymous function takes exactly one argument, you can drop the parentheses. This will also work.
What is one argument?
So let's just say we have a function, say greeting. Okay. And this takes a let's just say a language, right? Language and a name. How many arguments is this greeting taking? It's taking 2 arguments, okay? Now what does that matter? How is that useful? So we'll say if language is equal to vi, we'll console.log xin chào name. Okay? Else, we'll say console.log hello name. Okay, so let's look at the signature of this function. Greeting. Greeting takes 2 arguments. One is the language, the other one is the name. Okay? So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it over here. So now I can call greeting. How many arguments do I need to give it? I want this to say Xin Chào. Who can help me? I want to say Xin Chào Kung. Yes. Yes, the first argument is going to be VI. Thank you, Sean. Sean has been thinking and reading. Okay? That's good. He's looking at the signature of the function. There's no way. He didn't magically come up with this. He looked at the function. He read it. He's reading code now. And every one of you guys are going to know how to do this. You guys need to read the function. You need to look at its signature, its parameters, its arguments. And you need to look at how it's used to determine the function's behavior. Okay? So I guarantee you, if I pass the first argument as VI, then we're going to see Xin Chào. Okay? Now we're going to use Lloyd because Lloyd's name is easy to type. So I guarantee you, we're going to see Xin Chào Lloyd. And we do in fact see Xin Chào Lloyd. Okay? So now we've seen a quick review on functions. Is this an anonymous function, guys? Okay, good. We know that this is not an anonymous function. Why? It has a name. We declared it as a name. Exactly. How many arguments does this function take? We noticed that these arguments actually dictated the behavior of the function. Okay, this is a common pattern. Your functions will take arguments. The arguments will dictate the behavior. Right? So what was the example that we were just looking at?
You're saying if there's only one argument, you don't need to use parentheses?
Yes. So right here, this anonymous function right here. Anonymous functions, just know that everyone's constantly trying to make us help us write code better. An anonymous function, this one written right here. Yeah, thank you, Sean. Man, you're fucking. I like it when you guys are participating, man. That helps me out. I can't think too quick. This anonymous function right here is going to take exactly one argument. Okay? No, actually, it can take many. Let's be clear.
So wait, hold up. All the arguments in there could be the job title, company, gender.
Which one? Which one? Here?
So we're looking at the people map right now.
Okay.
Right now we only have one argument, which is person.
Yep.
But we could add zodiac, gender, job title, company.
So you could individually do that, but that defeats the purpose of using the object because the object already has that data, right? So hey, let's just look at the person, okay? So here I'm gonna actually I kind of skipped this part here. I'm in the okay. So I'm in the index in person. When we call this function right here, this function that we pass to map, the second argument that map will give us is the index. Okay? What the fuck does that mean? So we can see that when we mapped over this array of people, what did it say right here?
0.
Okay? So where did 0 come from?
It's you up there, your first object.
So you know that because you have eyes, but the computer does not know that, okay? Let's look at code and determine what that means. The first time I'm in the 0 printed, where did 0 come from?
Index.
Okay, this variable index. Where did this variable index come from?
Is the position of the first person a 0?
It's the argument. Index is an argument that was passed to this to our function right here. Okay? See how second go? Name is the second argument. Right here. In this case, index is the second argument. And we get this for free from map. You guys don't have to think about this, okay? Just know that whenever our function that we pass to map right here is called, the first argument will always be an element. Whatever element is inside of here, okay? The second argument will always be the index of that element. So we can see that in the first index of our array was Loy, and the second index was Gwyn, and the third index was Sean, and lastly was Parsa. Right? So we sometimes get free magic. Okay, I always say that there's no magic in programming, but there is. There's a little bit of magic involved. But it's not magic that like Harry Potter did. It's just magic that someone did something for you, and you guys don't need to think about it too much. You just have to understand its implications. Okay? No one here knows how gravity works, but we understand that if we jump off a tall building, it's not going to end well for us. So we all know not to jump off tall buildings. So right now, in the context of programming, we don't need to understand everything about how map works. Just know that when map is running, what's it going to do, guys? It's going to
Run code on each element.
It's going to run a function on each element. This function that we give to person, it's going to run that function on each element.
Inside of the people array.
Yes. Well, it could be any array. This could be cars, this could be countries, whatever. We can call map on an array. The argument to map is a function. When this argument to this function, this callback is called, it will be passed 2 arguments. Actually, it's passed 3. But the thing is you don't need to use the second and the third one. The first one is the one that you'll always be using. You cannot use this. You're almost never ever going to be using this without looking at the element. Yes?
I get it. So the reason why we only use one argument is because it's like a filter.
It's going to look at one individual element at a time.
We filter out the other data and we just focus on one type of data.
It's so it's not about filtering at this point. It's about running the code one time. So the first time that this code runs, you can imagine that this thing right here, this object right here gets copied, and then it gets stuck inside of here. So I'd say, okay, let's just stick Lloyd right there. I know it's kind of like not a neat example. I wrote down too much code, but just know that this person is going to be an element. Okay, this person will always be this first argument right here, this first one. first argument will always be an element inside of our array. Okay? Right now we're calling it person. But what did we call it just a few moments ago, guys? What?
Chair.
Yes, chairs. But what other one did we have? Animals. Right? And then we can do map. We can call it our anonymous function, or we can define the anonymous function. We just console.log name. Why did I call it name here? Because that's just really what it is. It's a name. I could call it whatever I want. String. Let's just say hi. We call it hi if we wanted. But that makes the code very difficult to read, man. And it's hard to understand. Exactly. It does not make any sense. Excuse me. Yeah. The reality is that this element here is a name, right? It's a couple strings, and this element here is a string. This string is composed of a bunch of characters. M-O-N-K-E-Y. What does M-O-N-K-E-Y mean? Exactly. That's all it is. It's just a name. So name would be the most appropriate name right here. Most choice right here. But know that the first argument, I've said this probably 20 times already in class, is always going to be the element. Okay? We could call this numbers. Let's say const odd numbers equals 1, 3, 5, 7, 10, 12. Is that right, guys? 14, 16. Okay, I was just testing you. Okay, I was testing you, making sure you guys are paying attention. These are odd numbers. You always name this consistent with what's inside of it. Okay, like I will yell at you if I see you guys name it something that's not right. Okay, even if it's something short. Okay, obviously I'm not going to yell at you, but I'm going to be very upset inside. I'm inside and be like, look, guys, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to be upset inside. Okay, so look, right now, what's inside this odd numbers array?
Numbers.
Okay.
Numbers.
Exactly. So, what if we wanted to run a function on each odd number to make it even? What could we do?
Odd numbers.
Yes. Odd numbers. Odd numbers. Dot map. And now what goes inside of the map function call? What goes inside of this function call? A function. Let's define it a couple different ways, okay, just to prove this. Okay? Now, what's the first argument going to be for this function?
Odd number.
It's going to be a number specifically, and more specifically, an odd number, right? But what does this represent, guys? An array element. That's exactly what it represents, an array element. So number will always be one of those numbers that was inside the array. There's no simpler way to say it. So now what could we do? If I wanted to turn this into an even number, what could I do? Add 1. Oh my God, man. You're on fire today. You guys are all on fire today. I'm impressed. You guys showed up today. Whoops. Okay, I did something wrong. Fuck me. Here we go. Num plus 1. So we took...
Oh, because otherwise it's going to be odd numbers. Plus 1 is going to be even numbers, which is starting at 1, right?
Yeah, so these are all odd numbers. We just took that number and added 1 to turn it to even numbers. Know that your data, you're going to be manipulating it, okay? You're mutating your data. You're taking little itty bitty pieces off of it, okay? What if I wanted all the boys and all the girls on one side of the room? I mean, this is like a normal thing, right? If we're playing like some kind of game, right? Say all the girls over here, all the boys over here. I don't care how tall you are, how old you are, what your nationality is. I want girls over here, boys over here. Only thing I care about is your gender right now. And there's going to be many use cases for this, okay? What did we just go over at the beginning of class, guys? Let's say I go to Google and I look for Pokemon. Okay? I look Pokemon. Okay? What are the different types of objects we have inside of here? We have images, we have videos, we have news, right? So what Google is saying, whenever I click this button, it's firing a function and saying, hey, all these results that I got back, give me only the images. Okay? Only give me the ones that have images. Or give me only the ones that have videos, etc. Okay? So that being said, let's go ahead and look at our people one more time. Okay? So what were we originally doing? We're looking at our individual people. And notice that when I type it in, I can simply inspect it and look at these things right here, right? What if I wanted to write a function which could determine the average age of our class?
It's like Excel, so you just type in like.
We're not using Excel, we're coding. We don't have Excel right now.
Like a.
So Excel programmers built Excel, okay? And they borrowed concepts from programming. Exactly what you just saw to say, a function. So we're going to write a function that simply does that, okay? So the first thing we need to do before we can average something is,
Take all the age together.
okay, so how can we collect all the ages?
Everything.
Yes. So let's go ahead and write these functions right now. I'm gonna throw these all away. I'm gonna define a function called average ages. Average ages, okay? This is going to take an array, ages, okay? No, my bad. It's going to take I
we do is sum and then we call.
Really, we should be writing multiple functions right now, but I'm trying to do this simple for you guys. Okay, so this is, hold on, I'm getting confused right now. I'm confusing myself.
If someone did it now, it's like,
No. It's going to take people, okay? It's going to take our people. It's going to say our people.length is, const is total number is equal to the people's length, okay? Now what do we need to do? Somehow we need to collect all of our ages. So now we're going to do people.map, and we're going to say person return person.age. I'm sorry, I know that so yeah, here, just do total const. Okay, let total age equals 0. Okay, now we're gonna do total ages plus equals. Okay, total ages right here. Now what can we do? We can simply return total ages divided by total number. I should have chose a simpler example. I'm sorry. I fucked up, guys. I'm sorry. Okay.
That's fine.
This is console.log this first. Okay. This is const average equals this. We're gonna say average is average. Then we're gonna turn that average. Okay. So now my expectation is that this should work, you know, but obviously I could have made a mistake, right? So let's go ahead and look at people. We have our people here, right? We also have a function, average ages, that we just defined. Let's go ahead and write that into our, let's go ahead and write this into our console so that it will be defined. Okay, so now I can do console.log average ages. And I can see that it is in fact a function that I defined. Okay, so let's go ahead and call the function now, average ages. And what do we need to pass it, guys? What argument is it going to expect? It's going to expect people. What does it expect people to be? An array. It expects, this function signature is that it expects people, it has to be an array. If we try to call this function without an argument pass of people, which is an array, this application is going to complain. So watch this. I'm gonna fail this application on purpose. And we can see that it starts complaining. It's saying, hey man, people.map is not a function. The reason why that is you cannot call .map on a string. Okay? But if I ran average to ages and I pass it an argument of people, it does not complain. That's from us looking at the signature of our function. We're looking at it, we're reading it, we're thinking, okay? We're thinking. We're doing more thinking. We're reading some more. And from that, we can determine how this function worked, and what we needed to give it, and etc. And we're going to combine this, okay? We're going to combine functions and arguments and names, conditional logics, variable declarations, return values, a little bit of math, and we're going to write really interesting programs. This is the formula right here, okay? Later on, you guys are going to be doing like movies. Find me all the movies that are horror movies. Find me all the movies with 5 stars or up, okay? Find me all, just anything. You can do anything with anything. I know that sounds so abstract, but just know that this is the basic formula right here. Okay, so do we have any questions, guys? So I can see our average age is 25 years old. I'm pretty sure this is accurate. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I think this is right.
Pretty young class.
Say again?
We're pretty young class.
I know, you young people.
I think it's accurate.
Yeah, I don't think it's the reality.
Me, you, we're
Yeah.
18.
You fucked up. You fucked up. Okay, so guys, all right, so with that, we have the presentation of how to work with. Let's actually review real quick before we break, okay? I'm going to review. Charles likes it when I do this.
But I don't get the average, how you I'm gonna do myself later.
So I'm going to give you guys some homework assignments, okay? Just know that so far you guys have had class assignments, homework assignments. You're going to have very soon additional homework assignments. I want you guys to all write a lot of little functions. This is going to take some data and it's going to change it a little bit. It's only going to grab this one little piece out. Or it's going to perform some operations on that data and then give you another output. So for example, average ages. What is the input here? Tell me something about people, guys. Tell me. Come on now. It's an array. People is an array. Okay? What do we expect this array to be composed of? Okay? What is the specific key that these people have to have for this function to correctly work? Yes. If this was null right here, what would happen? The application would crash. It'd say, oh shit, I don't know what to do now, man. You gotta write some better code. Okay? So the objective of average ages was to take an input. The input was an array. It looked at that input and it gave us an output. This is the output right here, line 130. It just figured out how to average the age of our students, of our people. Okay? Obviously, this is a contrived example. What else could we do? Could we determine how many are men and women? Could we determine that? Let's write one more, okay? I want to write one more. I'm sorry that I'm scaring you guys.
Wait,
And
wait, before we do that, could you please go up? Okay, so, one person, who's this person, the Sagittarius?
this guy?
Ham. Is your name Ham? Yeah, so wait, look at job title, it's missing a T. What's gonna happen if we would pick job title? Would it still show up?
So job title here is not missing a T. Are you talking about student right here?
Student, yeah.
So right here, this is what we call validations, guys. We didn't validate our data. This is not the only place that we have a problem. We also have a problem with Sean. I asked him what his favorite color was. He responded, black like my soul.
I was wondering.
So watch. So I mean, it's not going to throw a glaring error. So watch this. We can do function, print favorite color. We do people, okay, and we'll do console or people.map. We'll say people.map person. Say console.log. Color is person.favorite color. Okay. So if I copy this function over, I jump back over to my code editor or my console. I paste it and I run it. What's that people? Oh my bad, I didn't call it yet. Print favorite color. Okay. If I pass it as people, we have some problems here. Not exactly. Our application hasn't crashed, but we do have some inconsistencies in our data. So there's this thing called data validation. Data validation. Okay? We need to make sure our data is the correct form. Okay? You guys are gonna run into this problem, okay? One day in the very near future, you guys are gonna have a form. Okay? You guys are gonna want to let users enter their email. What does the email absolutely have to have? An at and a dot something. 100%. You're gonna have a form that allows users to enter phone numbers. What are phone numbers composed of? Digits, only digits. If they hit A, then that thing needs to turn red. Okay? And this is a part of our jobs. This is our jobs as software developers. We need to validate our data. Okay? So, do you have any questions?
So, how do we count in map?
How do you count?
Count in map.
What do you want to count?
Like, if I want to see how many loop it goes, then
Okay.
how do I count it?
Okay, so I'm sorry, we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. Remember what I said a second ago, guys, right? What is the first argument to map always going to be? The element in the array. This first argument to this function right here, right? Let me give you an example, okay? Let me give you a simpler example, okay? Let's just say const animals is monkey. Let's make cat, dog, rat, mine. Okay? So we got our animals here.
Nice to add me in the right? I don't care. I am an animal.
I'm sorry. It's so funny. We got animals. We got our animals here. That's all I know. Okay. We got our animals. Okay. So we got our animals here. Okay. Okay. So now, do you remember that I told you, man? I'm telling you that map takes a function. So I'm going to define one right here. Say function. What did you just say? Print name and age. Okay. It's going to take an animal, or print name and index, my bad. Index.
And if I want to stop at rat, then how do I do that?
So you can run a conditional. You can just say if it's rat. I'm gonna show you. I'll show you. Fuck it. Whatever. So we do index, okay? So now we have a function. We have a couple of animals, right? We got a couple of animals here. Okay. Wait, who's our last animal? Who's our last animal, guys?
Me.
It's mine. 0, 1, 2, 3. 3. It's at the 3 index. What? Oh, because I already what?
What did you do? Did you not delete old data or something?
No, what it is that I've got this live server and it keeps fucking everything up.
So when you mess up, can you please tell us how you messed up so we are not gonna mess up later?
Yeah, of course. Okay, yeah. So now we have animals here. We got how many animals in here? 4 animals, right? So the original problem was that Kung wanted to know how we could print the index as well as the name. So I'm going to call animals.map. Or my bad, I need to define this first. We'll do console.log. Animal is animal at, I can't read, fuck me, at index. All right, that's IDX, my bad. Okay, we wrote it here. Okay, we're just gonna copy and paste it over now. Okay. All right, so now we can run the map function on all our animals. And what can we pass it? So I'm just gonna copy this right here.
Yeah, I'm so confused right now.
I know, so I'm just showing you multiple ways. There's gonna be many ways to do this. Okay, what is the argument to map?
And you only want the rat, right? Is that what you want?
No, he said how could it exit early when we get to rat?
If we want to exit, because in the regular loop for in, right, for I, you can specify how many iterations you
How
want.
many loops you wanna run?
Yeah, and then if we want to stop at a certain point, and how do I know how many loops is on
Okay, so
running?
you wanna stop at rat.
And I don't know how to do it with map.
So in a second we're going to do that. To be honest with you, like the vast majority of time, I've never seen an example where that you want to stop in an array. You always want to go through the entire array. Yeah. Well, not my bad. That's completely wrong. You either want to go through the entire array or exactly what you just said. You want to stop in a specific one. So I'll show you that in just a second.
Why would you wanna stop at a specific one?
What if you're looking for a specific item in the array? What if I've listed the cities and I'm just looking, which one of these cities is Paris? You just do city, you know.
For example, if guessing game, right? If the person enter the right number, then it start the loop. So that's when we know. Something like that.
Okay. It's
Fuck
more
me, man.
like-
Holy shit. I've spent so much time talking about these concepts. I need to actually demo this, okay? So I'm going to show you one more thing and we need to move forward, okay? Because we're really behind now. So animal.map, we pass it a function, okay? We pass it a function. It's going to run. The first argument is going to be the element. The second argument is going to be its index in the array. So we're going to see animal is, and then we're going to see the index afterwards. So we run it. And we see that the first index of cat is what? Or of the animals array is cat. Let's see the first item in our animals array. Right? What's the second one? Dog. What's the third one? Rat. What's the fourth one? Mine. Okay? So we've looked at all of our animals. And we printed its index. Okay, last one. If we want to exit early, we can simply do conditional. If animal is equal to rat, then we'll break. I think it should be break here. So now we should not see my printed if this works correctly. Okay, so let's go ahead and refresh. You paste. Now we're going to call animals.map, and we're going to pass it the array, the argument, the function. Fuck me. This is not the way. My bad. There's a different way to do this. But actually, the way that what you want to do is a different function called filter. It works almost exactly the same way. Okay, I'm going to talk about this some more. Please let me demo the lab, and then we're going to move forward. Okay. Okay, we're going to move forward. I'm sorry that I completely ran over. Okay. So guys, this is the lab we have right here. Okay, guys. This is a This is what we're gonna build today. My bad. Fuck. Okay, so what are we looking at? We have a single input. We have a prompt that says, "Hey user, enter number 1 through 100." For a demonstration, I've shown you guys that basically we want the user to guess any number between 1 and 100. Okay? What if I guess 1? The computer prompts me that the guess was too low. I've console logged the computer's guess to prove a point. Okay? So now, what if I guess 28? It's going to say my number was too high. Right? Here's my number that I'm trying to guess right here, 27. Here's the number I guess, and here's the prompt from the computer. Guess what's going to happen if I type in 27? It didn't do anything. I didn't write code for that. My bad. What? Oh, my bad. Okay. Refresh it. So number now is guessed. When this application loads, the computer is going to guess a number between 1 and 100. See that? Every time I refresh this, is guessing. Okay? So let's just make sure that if we guess too low, 1, your number is too low. If we guess too high, 10. Our number is too high. If we guess exactly correctly, we guess correctly.
Lloyd, that number up there, is just the index HTML address, right?
Yes. I'm using VS Code to run something called a live server. Okay, so this is all we've done, okay? Sean, I'm going to demo this to you real quick. I think you missed it. Okay, go here. Our application is a single prompt. We have a single input. We have a single button. When the application loads, our application guesses a single number, okay? If you guess too low, what's lower than 24? Anyone? 20. Is 20 lower than 24?
Yes.
Is our prompt correct?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the number that's bigger than 24?
25.
Is 25 bigger than 24?
Yes.
Is our prompt correct? What's the same number as 24?
24.
If I say that 24 is the same number as 24, am I correct? That's the application we built. That's simple, guys. Okay, so I already built it here. I'm going to move out of it. I'm just going to delete everything in here. Okay? Now I'm going to create it again. Okay, so here it is. Make directory number guessing. I'm going to move into it now. Okay? Now I'm going to create some files. All the files that we typically generate. Now we're going to open up our code editor. Okay? What should we see inside of index.html? Nothing. So what are we going to do now, guys? We're going to get this template from SitePoint. We copy it. We paste it inside of our index.html. We refresh this page. Hold on. We now run the server. You can see that we have nothing here. Let's go ahead and prompt the user. Guess a number. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and add an input with an ID. Is guess. Because that's where the user's going to type in the number. We got to get that number somewhere, right? We save it. We have our input. Now let's go ahead and add a button with an ID. Button with guess number. Okay? We save, we refresh. We have the three things that we need from a visual perspective. Okay? So what file did I create right here? Scripts.js. Where on line 19 are we looking for a file? Inside of a folder called JS. So let's go ahead and create that folder. We'll drag and drop scripts.js in there. And in order to confirm that this is working correctly, I'm just going to console.log Superman is gay. Okay, I refresh, I look at our console, I see that Superman is in fact gay. Okay, so now, what can we do now? We now need to understand when a user clicks this button right here. Okay, so now we're going to attach an onClick attribute to it, and we're going to pass this a onGuessNumber function. Okay, is that good enough, guys? No, we need to define this function in our scripts. And the first thing we're going to do is simply console log Batman is probably gay. Okay, so we refresh, we click the button, we see that Batman is probably gay. Every time we click it, that function fires. It's not magic. We define a function, we pass it to a button's onClick attribute. Okay, that's not that interesting. What can we do now? We're going to apply some concepts that we used yesterday. We're going to do document.get element by ID. Which ID are we looking for, guys? Guess. Okay. What are we looking for inside of here? Its value. We're going to assign that to a value. I don't care what you guys call this the first time. I just care that you guys console log it. Blah blah blah. I need you guys to confirm your variables. Okay. No one here knows. I just put in garbage here. Okay, I just need to know what this is console logging. I save, I put in some values here, I guess the number. Did I correctly grab this value? Did I correctly grab the number from here?
Is this like the validation thing that you're talking about?
No, this is just about how we grab data from the screen. This is how we program. We got to constantly be looking at our data and confirming to ourselves what is inside that variable. It's impossible to write code without knowing what is inside of variables.
Yeah, I was getting confused by that before, like how to use console log correctly. So now I see like its function is for putting something, so you have to put it in the correct spot and check whatever you're doing.
Exactly. You got to check.
First, you just put it in the JavaScript file just to make sure the file
Was properly loaded, correct.
And you put it in the function to make sure that the HTML where you said button call this.
Yes.
Is working.
So it's to confirm. It's to confirm that the file was loaded. It's to confirm that the function was firing. It's a utility function. Specifically what's called a utility function. Okay, so now what can we do? We now need to figure out how to generate a random number. So what we're going to do is Google JS generate random number 1 to 100.
And then you gotta take the code and copy it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, so in order to make sure that this works, here's this one. What? Generate random number 1 to 100 JS.
Why don't you use random number generator, JavaScript?
Oh, here it is. Here it is. So here it is. Here's our function right here. Got to copy this. We're going to open up our Chrome developer tools to prove that this works, okay? We type it, we enter, we type it, we enter. And this looks like it's working correctly. Am I getting colors out of here? Am I getting floats? No, I'm only getting numbers. Am I getting negative numbers? No. What's the biggest number I've gotten? Exactly. and 100. So we have confirmed that this works. Okay? So at the top of our...
Wait, before we move on, should we just like run it in the console to see if it works, the code, and then we paste it into our script?
Exactly. I want you to constantly be testing as you go.
So test it in the console first before pasting it into the script.
Correct. So I'm now going to do let computer guess. Okay? And I'm simply going to call this function. Right here. We're just going to call that function. Okay? So now we can do console.log computer guess. Okay? So I expect that whenever we load this file that we're going to see a console log that says here's our computer's guess. So we refresh. Oh, my bad, wrong one. We refresh. Dude. Why is this not? Save. Oh, my bad, I didn't call it yet. My bad, I didn't call it yet. Okay? So now I click this button, and I can see that the guess is 23. Right? So now what can we do, guys? We confirm that these numbers work. We can simply say, hey, if, let's give this a better name now that we figured out what is inside of it, user guess. If the user guess is greater than our computer guess, what's the reality? That the user needs to be alerted and told that their guess was too high. Or was too high. Too high. What's the other two situations that can occur?
Too low.
Too low. And then we're going to say correct. Save it, refresh it, save it. Oh, my bad, yeah, my bad. Thank you. Save it. Thank you, Sean. I guess 1. My guess is too low. Right now, I actually don't know what the guess is, okay? So I'm just gonna console log it because I want to know what it is, right? Console.log. Refresh. 63, I'm gonna guess 60. Was it too low? What if I guess 65? Too high? What if I guess exactly 63?
Is there a way to change the like heading of the font?
That's exactly what I'm about to tell you. That was the next step, okay? So the objective here is that we now need to figure out how to make our UI look correct based on what the behavior is. So in the case that our H1, let's look at ID, let's just make this simple, prompt, okay? In the case that a user guesses correctly, what do we want to do? We want to change the text, right? A user, we don't want it to be alerting, okay? So we're going to do document.getElement by ID. We're going to target a specific element. Then we're going to say the inner HTML is something different. So we refresh. What's the number right here, guys? 24, I guess 24. And watch what happens to the text right here. Oops. Did I say this?
Wait, why do you put the...
I won. You guys all see that happen? Think about what we did here on line 16 on the right, okay? If the guess is correct, we target a specific HTML element, and then we change the HTML inside of it. That's simple, okay? Now I want you guys to do more than that. I want you guys to change colors. I want you guys to change the elements itself, etc. So do this one more time. I guess 14 when the number is 15. It's too low. I guess 16. It's too high. I guess 15. I won. Okay? All right, so do you have any more questions? Any questions? Okay, guys, good luck.